The president tweeted on Friday, after I got fired, that I better hope there's not tapes. I woke up in the middle of the night on Monday night, because it didn't dawn on me originally, that there might be corroboration for our conversation. There might be a tape. And my judgment was I needed to get that out into the public square. And so I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
I thought Comey really made a fool out of himself today. I mean, I think it's clear now that, there's on a few facts. Number one, the president was not under investigation.
Right, absolutely.
Without question. Number two, I mean, he was eager to see if any of his cohorts, or as you call them, satellites, were, and he asked to be notified of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this whole Russian thing is just basically a bunch of BS.
Well, very interesting to remember what transpired last Thursday. The testimony of former FBI director, fired FBI director Jim Comey, admitting to going to a friend to have a story leaked with the hopes that it would bring about the appointment of an independent counsel. And then former FBI assistant director James Kallstrom appearing on the Fox Business Network with not too many kind things to say about former Director Comey. Now, to put this all in perspective for us and take a look ahead to the testimony we'll hear this afternoon in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee, we welcome in a gentleman known for fighting for individual liberty and freedom, the founder of Judicial Watch and now at Freedom Watch, so famous, or perhaps in the mindset of the left. Remember their televised fantasy on NBC for so many years, The West Wing? I understand a character was created in the image of our next guest. From Newsmax Washington, we welcome in Larry Klayman of Freedom Watch. Larry, it's so good to have you with us again. And I just got to ask you, you were in the room for the testimony last week from Comey. What were your impressions of that entire episode?
Well, it was a charade. It was a dog and pony show. First of all, the Republican establishment, I admire you too, JD, because you've always fought against that establishment. You're your own man when you were congressman and now. But that Republican establishment, run by Chairman Richard Burr of that committee, basically rolled over to the minority. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, the minority ranking member, and he allowed in the opening statement to trash the President of the United States and to accuse him of all kinds of illegalities. So you could see where it was going. And they brought Comey forward, dog and pony show, to try to destroy the president, because the reality here is, in my view, is that the Republican establishment wants to get rid of Trump, and they probably would like to get rid of Pence in the process too, the vice president, so they can run their establishment candidate in 2020. And then you have, on the left, you've got these Democrats who have lost all sense of honesty or truth, and Comey assisted them. But with regard to the clip and regard to these documents, nobody's asked the question whether they're true or not. They just accepted it as true, both sides, Republicans and Democrats on that committee, and they didn't get behind it. Why didn't they ask, when did you create these documents? Do you have a laptop? Would you please turn over your laptop so we can take a look at how you actually created them? Because I believe they were made as a justification in revenge for Comey's firing. And if you looked at him at that hearing, he literally was almost foaming at the mouth with hatred for the president, because he's an establishment creature in Washington. He doesn't like to be embarrassed. He doesn't like to lose his job, and he should have lost his job. And let me tell you something else, JD, quickly, is that we filed a lawsuit against Comey shortly before that hearing. I was seeking to serve him with that lawsuit, with a summons. I had a process server with me, and I asked politely to the head of security of the Senate Intel Committee if we could simply deliver it to him, because these people vanish. They try to evade service of process after the fact. And this lawsuit is by Dennis Montgomery, a whistleblower who came forward to Comey with 47 hard drives, over 600 million pages of information showing surveillance on President Trump when he was a businessman, surveillance on the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, other justices, 156 judges, yours truly, because I've been opposing these people for years. Anybody who challenged them were being subject to this illegal criminal surveillance. And Comey sat on this for over 2 years. We gave him all the documents. My client Montgomery got immunity. He buried it because now we find out with certain press reports in the last few weeks that the FBI was engaged in illegal surveillance along with the intelligence agencies. And I've tried to get these intelligence agencies to investigate it, to bring Montgomery in front. This should be the issue, the leaks, the surveillance. They don't want to do that because they've known about it in all likelihood, and they don't want to challenge these intelligence agencies, these committees on Capitol Hill, because stuff about their private lives, stuff about their professional lives will likely come out to destroy their lives and career. I call it the Anthony Weiner factor, is that there's some stuff lurking there that they don't want to expose. So they're not doing the bidding of the American people. They're doing their own political bidding. And that's the tragedy here.
Pardon me, I don't know, I must be allergic to hear about that kind of surveillance. Not to joke, but it's a serious matter, but it just prompted a sneeze for me. Today, more than a sneeze from the Attorney General of the United States, who will sit before that same Senate Intelligence Committee at 2:30 Eastern Time. Over on the Fox News channel, Judge Andrew Napolitano yesterday was saying, wait a minute, Mr. Attorney General, you don't want to go testify. Here is the case made by Judge Napolitano. Let's listen to it, and then we'll get you to evaluate it.
This is a very dangerous position for him to be in.
How come?
He is not testifying as the chief law enforcement officer in the land, as the Attorney General. He's testifying as a witness because he doesn't run the Russia investigations, any of them. He is a witness. He has involvement in both. He's going to be accused of perjury. He's going to come to a conflict point where he has to decide, am I here to defend the President of the United States or here to defend myself? That's an awful position for him to be in.
So is that a suggestion that he should not testify?
If I were his lawyer, and presumably he has kept counsel with some lawyer, either in the DOJ or outside attorney, I would advise, do not put yourself in this position. It is a no-win situation.
Hey, Larry, I hear that, and granted, for purposes of full disclosure, I am not a lawyer, never played one on TV, but as a member of Congress, even though you put witnesses under oath, it is not a judicial proceeding. It is a political inquiry, and it seems to me that that General Sessions can come in and say, whoa, wait a minute, before we go anywhere else, I got to tell you about Jim Comey, who failed to report to me as a subordinate all these goings on. In other words, it seems to me, understanding the congressional process, that former Senator Sessions, now the Attorney General, can use this hearing to, in essence, clear his name and that of the president. Am I misinterpreting something here?
No, I agree with you, JD. I do. Technically speaking, Judge Napolitano is right, but that's not the way it works on Capitol Hill. They don't hold anybody account for perjury. Eric Holder, I was on an airplane yesterday. I saw Holder. We traded some barbs with each other in a good-natured way. I mean, here's a guy who lied in front of Congress, never was held accountable. You've got James Clapper, the director of national intelligence, who lied about mass surveillance. He said it wasn't happening, not held accountable. The Democrats are going to accuse you of lying in any event. And I admire Sessions for doing this because he has to do it. And he's a fine man. I met him as a young lawyer in Mobile, Alabama, when he was U.S. Attorney. I've encountered him throughout my career. He's a man of great integrity. I honestly believe that, and I don't say that about everybody. So he'll handle himself up there. He knows what to do. He's a good lawyer. And he's got to get out there, and he's got to clear the air. And I don't believe that he will lie under oath. And if they want to make that point, I'll frankly be there to defend him. Because, frankly, it's out of control. These Democrats want to destroy the presidency. They want to bring down the country. You know, when was the last time a leftist was concerned about Russia? Okay, and that's what these people are. Russia's like their Mecca. It's the equivalent of their Mecca. I mean, Bernie Sanders honeymooned in Moscow. He could do a Hollywood movie, honeymoon in Moscow, and play the part. And so consequently, this is all a manipulation to bring down the presidency. And somebody's got to fearlessly come forward, and Sessions is doing that. He won't be found to have perjured himself, but he's doing the right thing. So I agree with you.
Well, let me come back to something else that is in the news this morning, and you lamented, as do I, the almost spinelessness of the Republican establishment on Capitol Hill and elsewhere there on the swamp. Now the bells have been ringing with an AP alert. Speaker Paul Ryan comes out saying this morning, quote, "Let Robert Mueller do his job." Now, for better or worse, the former FBI director, and apparently, if we're to believe what we hear, good pal of James Comey, is the independent counsel. And boy, all the establishment Republicans are falling into line. Newt Gingrich sounded a cautionary note over the weekend. And of course, there is this obligatory chorus of hosannas for Judge Mueller, whom I'd see him on the elevator when he'd be over on the Hill doing his business. He seemed to be a fairly good guy, but there are questions about this entire independent counsel. Your take both on the Ryan pronouncement this morning and, if you will, the real Robert Mueller.
Well, I'll give you the real Robert Mueller first, okay? The real Robert Mueller, FBI director, covered up an investigation of Saudi money laundering. I had two FBI special agents I represented, Robert Wright and John Vincent. One ultimately came to work for me at Judicial Watch. He ran the Chicago office at the time, John Vincent. Robert Wright tried to expose the fact that he was trying to investigate money laundering by someone named Marsouk leading up to 9/11. I met him before 9/11 in the office of David Shippers, the House impeachment manager, who I'd gotten to know during impeachment. And he told me this. And why was it covered up by the FBI, by the higher-ups? He wasn't allowed to do an investigation. He wasn't even allowed to bring forward information that a Muslim special agent of the FBI that they asked to be wired refused to be wired in this investigation because, quote, Muslims don't rat out other Muslims. And instead of following through with that investigation, they tried to take away the security clearance of Robert Wright to drive him out of the FBI. And who was the FBI director? Mueller. Let's also remember that Mueller was the guy who sat on a lot of this illegal surveillance when he was at the FBI. So since we've got issues of leaks and everything else, he's conflicted because he himself was involved in a cover-up of the illegal surveillance that was being conducted even during the Bush years, George W. Bush. Warrantless wiretaps. I brought a case on that. So Mueller's got a lot of problems here. He should not, and he's also a close friend of Comey. It was a mistake by the Deputy Attorney General to appoint him. I don't think that he thought it through at the time. I think Rosenstein's a good man. He didn't think it through. He panicked, and they appointed Robert Mueller. Now let's talk about the traitors on Capitol Hill. I mean, this is reminiscent of Caesar and Brutus. You've got Paul Ryan, who's been two-faced, not just during the campaign, but after that. He would like to see Trump gone. He's playing the game, but he's not an honest person, and he's not loyal to, frankly, the president. Now, you've got other people up there, and you know very well about him. You ran against him, John McCain, who, frankly, I think has lost his mind. I think at this point he should retire and go live in Scottsdale. It's a beautiful place. I love Arizona. But this man just recently said that President Obama was a better leader than President Trump. I mean, this is what you've got. The Republicans are trying to stab the president in the back, the establishment. They want to destroy him. And now you've got the Democrats trying to destroy him. So he's up against everything. And he's Caesar. These people like Ryan and McCain and others are Brutus. And we at Freedom Watch, we want to see this president succeed. I'll criticize him when necessary. I have. But this is our last chance. If President Trump does not succeed, the next president is going to be 100 times worse than Obama. And that's a reality. So, and this country will not survive. We barely escaped Hillary Clinton. We can't see this happen. So those people out there, conservatives, libertarians, others, we have to be supportive of the president.
And in that vein, just your quick take, our parent website, Newsmax.com, with the headline, Ninth Circuit upholds injunction against Trump travel ban. Larry, in the minute that remains, your prediction, will the Supreme Court actually follow the statute as it's written so the president can do his job in terms of immigration and immigration control?
I hope so, and they certainly should do that. Again, the Ninth Circuit has showed its hand. It's ultra-leftist. It's symptomatic, JD. We have a judicial selection strike force coalition. You go to freedomwatchusa.org to find that, to get better judges. There are 100 vacancies. We've got these very politicized leftist judges, 70 to 80% appointed by Obama, and before that, Clinton on the bench. And frankly, many of them are political hacks. And I'm sorry to say that as a lawyer, but the Ninth Circuit, there are a lot up there. These were 3 Clinton appointees. They're political hacks. I believe that the Supreme Court will reverse this.
Well, we will find out soon. Larry Klayman, it is always a delight to have you on as you cut through the muck and the mire and give us the straight story. Larry Klayman of Freedom Watch, who will be watching with interest later this afternoon when Attorney General Sessions testifies before the Senate Intelligence Committee. Larry today from Newsmax, Washington. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll be up there in Capitol Hill watching.
We've heard some.
Okay.
Sounds great, Larry. Thank you. And when we come back, we're going to watch a few jokes because things are getting kind of heavy. Headlines and punchlines next.